Why would you want to play the long game, a healthy life, when you can optimize for total biological collapse? Today, we're not talking about longevity. Nope, we're talking about pure, unadulterated efficiency. We are breaking down the ultimate aging speedrun, ranking the absolute most effective habits into a definitive tier list. So let's dive in. We're going to go from the slow burners to the absolute game breakers to find out how you can min-max your way to an early retirement from life itself.
So, every good speedrun needs a solid foundation.
Kicking things off in D tier is what we call the blind playthrough. Just ignore medical screenings. See, we've put it here because it's a really powerful passive ability. It doesn't actually cause any damage itself. It just makes sure nobody interrupts your run. A lot of those endgame diseases have a super long loading time. We're talking years. And by avoiding spoilers from your doctor, you just let that progress bar fill all the way up. It ensures the damage is permanent by the time you actually feel anything.
And this builds perfectly into our C tier strategy, the sugar spike build. This is your foundational fuel. The core mechanic here is basically causing your insides to, well, rust. When you flood your system with sugar, it literally sticks to proteins like collagen, creating these things called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Your skin gets leathery, your joints get stiff. It's great. Now, the pro tip for any serious player, use liquid calories, soda, juice. With no fiber, that sugar hits your liver like a DDoS attack, guaranteeing the biggest possible insulin spike. It's a long-term grind, for sure, but it is essential fuel.
All right, now we're climbing up to B tier, the reliable burners. These are the classics, the accessible strategies that give you consistent, long-term damage. First up is the SAID meta, the standard American diet. This is the perfect starter kit. Step 1, you maximize industrial meats to keep your body in a constant state of chronic inflammation. Step 2, overwhelm your system with industrial seed oils. This creates what's basically cellular trash that your body has to work overtime to clean up. For the best results, hit that frozen section for its preloaded preservatives and, of course, adopt the fast food daily grind. It's a slow burn, but it's so easy to get, it's a B tier staple.
Next up in B tier, we've got the drunken build. Alcohol is a Category 1 carcinogen, which means it's basically coded to damage your DNA directly. It triggers the brain fog glitch because it's neurotoxic. It literally shrinks your brain. And even better, it's a sleep sabotage tool. It blocks the REM sleep your brain needs for its daily maintenance. The Min-Maxer's Guide? A sugary nightcap right before bed. You get a double hit of liver toxicity and sleep disruption. The only reason this isn't higher up the list is the risk. Overdo it, and you might trigger an early game over, and that just ruins the whole run.
And next in B tier, we have the walking chimney. Smoking is it's like intentionally deleting lines of your own genetic code. It's famous for its 15-year skip ability, letting you just exit the game a decade and a half early. But for true speedrunners, the build really matters. The newer vape meta, it's a clear nerf. It just lacks the full chemical cocktail. For the fastest aesthetic decay, that classic aged gray tint, you need the full flavor pro build. You want the tar. It's old school, sure, but it's a reliable burner.
We are now entering A tier, the system destroyers. These strategies are what we call force multipliers. They don't just add damage, they weaken your entire foundation, making every other bad habit you have exponentially more effective. But before we get to our first A-tier build, we need to define a key term, sarcopenia. Okay, so this is the state where your body, starved of protein, just starts to cannibalize its own muscle tissue to keep your organs running. This is the core mechanic for achieving structural collapse and that much-desired fragility multiplier.
And that brings us right to the protein-deficient build. By triggering sarcopenia, you get that structural collapse, making you look kind of deflated and frail. And your skin sags beautifully as your collagen production just grinds to a halt. This is the ultimate glass cannon build. It weakens your foundation so you can't recover from any other kind of stress. And the pro tip? Go fructarian. You get a massive sugar hit while keeping your protein near zero. Next in A tier is the chronic stress build. The mechanic here is simple. You just keep your fight or flight mode toggled on permanently. This floods your system with the hormone cortisol, creating stress-induced insulin resistance. So basically, you get all the metabolic damage of the sugar build without even having to eat the cake. To optimize this, use doom scrolling to keep your brain on high alert, and make sure you isolate yourself to avoid that community perk of social bonding. It's a top-tier system destroyer.
Our final A-tier build is the druggie. Now this is for players who want to bypass that decades-long grind. Certain stimulants cause a system overload on your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. Aesthetically, it's unmatched for achieving that hollow, gaunt endgame look. So what keeps this out of S tier? The volatility factor. This high-risk playstyle often triggers an unexpected credits roll, ending the run way too early. It's a high-skill build for those who want maximum aging per second.
And now, we have arrived. S tier. The God tiers. These are the most efficient, the most overpowered, and the most meta-defining strategies in the entire game.
But first, another key term, photoaging. Look, this isn't just a tan. It's a deep tissue radiation attack from the sun. You've got UVA rays, which act as a collagen deleter tool, and then you've got UVB rays, which corrupt your DNA. This is, hands down, the most efficient way to downgrade your character's aesthetics.
Which brings us to our first S-tier strategy, the solar flare. In terms of pure visual speedrunning, nothing is more efficient. The sun can make a 30-year-old look 60 in a fraction of the time it takes the SAD diet to work. To min-max this, never use sunscreen. Instead, use tanning oil as a damage multiplier and make sure you grind during peak UV hours, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Our next S-tier entry is the all-nighter build. Sleep deprivation is the great multiplier. It makes every single other build more damaging because your body is just too tired to fight back. The mechanic is simple. You prevent your brain's internal janitor from cleaning out all that neurotoxic sludge that builds up during the day. For the min-maxers, use late-night caffeine to block your sleep notifications and make sure you never reach those deep restorative stages of sleep.
And our final and perhaps most surprising S-tier build is the stationary build. Most players totally underestimate it, but the data is crystal clear. Low cardiorespiratory fitness is actually more dangerous than smoking or diabetes. It's absolutely overpowered. And the best part, while all these other builds require you to do something, this build is perfected by doing absolutely nothing. It is the most low-effort, high-reward strategy in the entire game.
So, we've reached the top of the meta, but there's one more category we have to discuss. This is the off-meta, run-ending game breaker. And here it is, the Chernobyl cheat code. Ionizing radiation is a shotgun blast to your genetic code. It liquidates you, wiping out your stem cells and shattering your DNA. It's the fastest way to get that ancient ghoul aesthetic, but we've placed it in its own E tier. And why is that? Well, from a speedrunning perspective, it's a game breaker. It's a 100% guaranteed instant credits roll. A true speedrun is about sustaining the process, not just hitting the end screen.
So there you have it, the complete tier list. From the passive enabling of ignoring screenings down in D tier, all the way up to the God tier low-effort strategies of being sedentary, sleep-deprived, and sun-soaked in S tier. This pretty much summarizes the most effective ways to accelerate the game.
But now, a final warning from the developers. Okay, let's be real, this has all been satire. While these methods are scientifically proven to speedrun the aging process, they are also 100% effective at ending your playthrough permanently. If you actually enjoy being in-game, you should probably do the exact opposite of everything we just discussed.
Which leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Looking at this list and now thinking about its inverse, what's one debuff you could patch out of your own run, starting today? It's something to think about.